All right, Shalom, Shalom. I'd like to start off first and foremost by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Bachakodash. Double honors to our elders and the apostles, the great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace, love, and salutations to those that are doing this work in truth and in sincerity. This is your brother Nathaniel from the GMS Camp Atlanta, coming back at you through the Spirit with another lesson. And I pray and hope this lesson is edifying. Okay. There's got a series of videos that I'm gonna play tonight, starting with this one from the brother from Arrows of Indignation. Okay, now this is a scripture that directly ties into Second Ezra, the 15th chapter. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and start off with that. They have it pulled up. Let me pull it up real quick. So this is Second Ezra 15, and I'm gonna start at verse 14. And I know we've been bringing this out a lot, but you have to understand that this is the time that this precept is literally coming alive. This is Second Ezra 15 and 14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword in their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the courses of their actions shall stand in their power." All right. Now, uh, um, I have an article right here as well before we play the video, and it says, this is Snopes, and it says, "Are U.S. soldiers openly refusing deployment orders to Iran?" Inspecting claim. Okay. And it says 2 weeks after the U.S. and Israel launched military strikes on Iran in mid 2026, a rumor begins circulating online that U.S. soldiers are openly refusing to fight in the war. Video posts and on social media. Internet searches and reviews of social media content turn up with no reputable evidence, videos otherwise, which is a lie, that U.S. military service members were openly defying orders to deploy. As such, we left claim unrated. All right, so this right here is a lie now, because this is what they do to try to control the narrative because they can't show that. Uh, um, so what I did was I went to AI and I just asked it directly, you know, and right here you can and again I use DeepSeek. I don't use Chat GPT because Chat GPT just straight be lying all the time, But DeepSeek, it gives you more of a concise uh, uh, um, explanation, and it'll give you like these web pages right here to give you its sources so you can find out where to get this information from. And it says, the user is frustrated with my perceived detailed explanations. They want strict yes or no answers with zero fluff. Because I asked it, like, bro, why you give me all this stuff? Give me an answer with no fluff. They asked him specifically about an order that violates soldiers' oath to the U.S. Constitution. They emphasize the law, right? Because I asked it if just to give you an overview, I asked the Chat GPT if a order was actually unconstitutional, could the person that's under oath not obey the order? And the answer was yes. Under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, a service member can refuse an order that violates the U.S. Constitution because such an order is or not lawful. Military law requires obedience only to lawful orders, and an order that conflicts with the U.S. Constitution is by definition unlawful. Both officers and enlisted personnel have rights. Now, if you understand anything about war, war has to be sanctioned by the Congress. If the Congress does not approve a war, it is unconstitutional, period, point blank. Okay? So these soldiers that are being deployed have a legal right to deny a unconstitutional order. Now, when we go up, right? Um, I went up because I'm doing a deep dive on dang, they gave me numbers. I didn't even see that. on um I did a deep dive on whether or not this was actually, if soldiers actually refuse orders. And it says this is high level resignation in a protest. It says the most significant act of defiance came from senior officer, not enlisted soldier, but reasons directly reflected the concerns of the troops. NDTV March 16th, 2026, and Daily Times March 17th, 2026, and Responsible Statecraft March 17th, 2026, all covered the registration of the resignation of Joe Kent, the director of the U.S. National Counterterrorism Center. Kent, for a formal Green Beret and Gold Star husband, wrote in his resignation letter to President Trump that he could not, in good conscience, support ongoing war in Iran. He stated that Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation and that the U.S. was drawn into the war due to pressure from Israel. Okay, so this was that guy that had resigned the other day. Okay, now surge in troops seeking conscientious objective status. It says multiple outlets report that a significant increase in service members contacted advocacy groups to help to legally avoid combat. Now, this is if they're trying to avoid combat, okay, they are not going to obey an order, okay? So it says Hudson Times March 16th reported that the Center on Conscience and War said its phones were ringing off the hook. The group shared an account from the spouse of a Marine in the 31st MEU who said her husband and other Marines in his unit do not agree with the mission and wanted nothing to do with this war. The report emphasized while opposition was high, the CCW did not state that the service members had actually refused to deploy. Okay. However, I'm gonna play this video because I looked into it. Right. I always want to fact check to make sure everything is if what you're saying is correct or not. However, a lot of the information that comes out sometimes it's harder to find this information for the average everyday person, and it has to come from higher sources. So you just got to kind of like take it for what it is. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna play this, but you can see that there is validity to this because there is a lot of jargon and a lot of rhetoric and a lot of talk about people rebelling against orders. Okay, so there is some type of rebelling uh, uh, um, against these orders that are going out. People do not like well, let's just play the video.
For the first time in years, the United States National Guard officers are straight up refusing President Trump's orders. They're saying this is not what we signed up to do. And honestly, they're definitely fucking right. So here's what's going on, y'all. Trump ordered the National Guard to help ICE patrol the streets of Chicago, right? Basically using the military troops to enforce immigration raids right here on American soil. But two officers had a big problem with that. Staff Sergeant Demi Palachek and Captain Dylan Blaha. They both said, fuck no. They're flat out refusing to follow that order. They're saying it goes against the community and against the Constitution. One of them said it flat out feels illegal. The other said, I signed up to protect the people, not to kidnap them. Hey, they know the risk too, man. Refusing a direct order could mean prison time or court-martial or even felony charges. But they said they would rather stand on the right side of history than become a part of something that feels wrong. When soldiers start refusing orders because they think the government is crossing the line, that's when you know something's starting to shift, man.
Hello, y'all. It's Deneen J. Sings. I want to read something to y'all about our military right now and this crazy war over oil and stuff. So, what I'm reading is, in an unprecedented act of defiance, active duty U.S. Army soldiers at multiple bases across the United States and overseas have begun openly refusing orders to deploy to the escalating war against Iran, publicly denouncing the conflicts as illegal and unconstitutional, and declaring they will not participate in what they call an illegal war of aggression. Videos and statements circulating from Fort Bragg, which is now Fort Liberty, Fort Hood, Fort Campbell, and several overseas posts show soldiers in uniform stating variations of, okay, this is not a defensive war. There is no imminent threat to the homeland. Congress never declared war. We will not deploy to kill and die for oil, politics, or foreign lobbies. We swore an oath to the Constitution, not to endless wars. I applaud them. The refusals, estimated in the low thousands so far, but are growing rapidly, represent the most significant military dissent since Vietnam. Key developments here. Entire platoons and companies reportedly standing down from pre-deployment training, soldiers citing lack of congressional authorization under Article 1, Section 8, some invoking, I don't know what this is, Nuremberg principles, and the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is called UCMJ, Article 92, lawful orders only. Viral clips showing troops burning their deployment orders or turning in gear. Immediate fallout. Pentagon placed multiple units on lockdown. Court-martials and Article 15 proceedings already initiated. The White House called the refusals mutiny and disgraceful.
Now, I got more videos that I want to play. Okay, I got more videos I want to play. I don't have these queued up, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get them right here. Here's another one. So you just not gonna play, huh? I don't know what the heck is going on. Hold up. So the video just don't want to play, huh?
Trapped in a terrifying Right now, reportedly, over 1,000 massive cargo ships are trapped in a terrifying maritime traffic jam in the Persian Gulf, and the United States is reportedly begging its allies for help. President Trump recently claimed the U.S. military completely destroyed 100% of the Iranian Navy, but Iran's commanders openly responded to Washington on the global stage. If you actually destroyed our Navy, then show some courage, send your warships, and open the Strait of Hormuz. But America hasn't moved a single inch. Instead of taking the challenge directly, a seemingly helpless Washington is frantically asking global allies to send their navies to break the blockade. Trump even threatened that if NATO refuses to help, their future will be very bad. Then came the biggest shock of the crisis. France, Japan, Australia, and even America's closest ally, the UK, completely refused. They reportedly denied sending their naval fleets, refusing to sacrifice their ships in another disastrous foreign conflict. The absolute superpower of the world has suddenly been abandoned by its own friend. Tell me below, what will happen next? Right now.
Hey, so you see, okay, that Trump is lying, and that the world is against America. All right, so let's play another video.
depend on the strait far more than ours. We strongly encourage other nations whose economies depend on the strait far more than ours. So we want them to come and help us with the strait. Numerous countries have told me they're on the way.
A few moments later.
Well, we don't need too much help, and we don't need any help, actually. And I didn't do a full court press because I think if I did, they probably would be, but we don't need help.
So is President Trump asking for NATO's help to try and reopen the Strait of Hormuz or not? Well, at least today he says we don't need their help. But why did Trump make that quick turnaround after he explicitly asked for help from our allies just yesterday? Well, I'll give you 3 concrete examples of what happened. This is a statement from the German Chancellor's office, who responded to Trump's call for help in the strait by saying, "This war has nothing to do with NATO. It's not NATO's war. NATO is a defensive alliance, an alliance for the defense of its territory." The UK Prime Minister insisted that Britain would not be drawn into the wider war. He said British troops should only be sent into action that is legal and has a proper, thought-through plan. And then just today, French President Emmanuel Macron said, "We are not party to the conflict, and therefore France will never take part in operations to open or liberate the Strait of Hormuz in the current context." See, when the United States wants to get involved in some kind of military conflict or war, if they are seeking the help of the NATO allies to conduct that operation, generally, not always, but generally, those allies are informed and consulted before the United States takes the action. Not after, before. And then a long and sometimes drawn out process of coalition building happens. President George W. Bush used to call it a coalition of the willing. But in the case of Iran, we know that the Trump administration and Israel not only did not inform the NATO allies before this war began, but the U.S. reportedly also did not inform our Middle Eastern allies in Kuwait and UAE, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia, and they ended up being hit by Iran as a result of these U.S. and Israeli strikes. On top of that, don't forget that President Trump has spent the last year back in office berating our NATO allies. Now, that's not my opinion. That's a fact. We all watched just a few months ago when President Trump openly said that the U.S. was going to take Greenland by force if necessary. Greenland, of course, is a territory of Denmark, which is a NATO ally. Trump has also said repeatedly that the United States is NATO and the rest of the alliance would be nothing without the U.S. and has threatened to pull the U.S. out of NATO. And on top of that, Trump has individually criticized the leaders of almost every NATO country about their domestic policies on everything from immigration to energy and even to culture war issues. So think about your own work life. Imagine you and your colleagues are technically all on the same team because you work for the same company. But imagine you have one colleague that does nothing but trash the work you produce, trash you as an employee, and openly campaigns that you are unnecessary to the company. And then one day that same colleague comes to you after all that trash talking and demands your help on a project that he or she is knee-deep in. What do? Well, in the case of the NATO allies right now, they're saying no, because they were not consulted prior to this war and because they see this as an aggressive move by the United States, who was not attacked first, and because they see Trump making this decision unilaterally. That's what the German chancellor meant by saying NATO is a defensive alliance. NATO is activated when one of its member nations is attacked, not when the president of the United States just decides to go to war before being attacked first. But that's the part that President Trump isn't really telling you about why these NATO allies are saying no. And instead, he's trying to frame it like this.
I think NATO's making a very foolish mistake. And I've long said that, I wonder whether or not NATO would ever be there for us. So this was a great test, because we don't need them, but they should have been there.
The fact is, the one and only time that Article 5 of the NATO Alliance Treaty has ever been invoked was after the United States was attacked on September 11th. And in that case, every single NATO ally came to the defense of the United States and sent troops to fight alongside the United States in the Middle East for decades.
We strongly encourage other nations whose...
So, of course, and his women, Esau's women is really slicing this man up. They're the ones coming with a lot of this information. It's Esau's women, just on a little side note. But let's go to the book of Obadiah, because, again, these prophecies, we're living in the time of these prophecies as we speak. These things are happening right before your eyes, okay? right before your eyes. We just read second. We're gonna get a little bit more into second notice because I got one more video I need to play. This is Obadiah 1 and 2 says, Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised. So all of the other nations, including the allies, hate this devil. They hate each other. The Lord is Isaiah the 19th chapter. Egyptian is put against the Egyptian. It says, The pride of thy heart have deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, Who shall bring me down to the ground? And you heard what this dude said? This is a great test for NATO. We don't need him. Man, Trump is a fucking idiot, man. This man is dumb as a box of rocks, who's built his whole entire career on destroying companies and coming behind and picking up the pieces. Okay? This is what this man has been doing his whole entire life. You know? And only in a system that's ran the way that it is, where a person can just declare bankruptcy and keep all their assets. You know, if you declare bankruptcy, all your assets should be seized and taken away to pay off your debt. That's what should happen. But in this society, especially a so-called white man can declare bankruptcy and keep everything and then build another business to do it all over again. Okay? This man thinks that he just can continue on like he has been. Okay? So, verse 4 says, Though thou exalt thyself as an eagle, and thou set thy nest among the stars, and so I will bring thee down, saith the Lord. All right? Now I'm going to skip down to verse 7. Well, I'm going to read verse 6. It says, How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee. This is the UN treaty. This is the NATO treaty. This is, all these different treaties. All this shit is going bye-bye. Okay? It says, All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. And they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There's none understanding in him. All of the nations that at one time were funded and were partnered with the U.S., they all setting America up for the fall. Okay? They don't have nothing to do with what America got going on. Okay? So when America starts crashing, there's not going to be any help. Nobody's going to come in with no aid. There's not going to be nothing. It's just going to be hell on the streets. And it's only a matter of time because unbeknownst to a lot of people, what they don't realize is, hey, they're keeping that strait closed indefinitely. And countries like Europe, countries like France and Britain and the UK, right? Hey, Iran is saying, hey, y'all can come through the straits if y'all cool, but y'all got to buy oil in the Chinese yuan. That's the only currency we're accepting. So what does that directly do? That destroys the dollar dominance. That destroys the petrodollar. That's what's happening over there right now. So what do you think as these other nations start to collapse and their infrastructure starts to fall apart because they don't have fuel to run their infrastructure? What do you think they're gonna do? Are they gonna say, you know what, we're gonna stick with the United States that started all this shit? Or they're gonna start saying, you know what, let's pick a more profitable side. They're gonna pick the more profitable side. That's what's gonna happen. So America and Israel are going to be left alone by themselves, while the other nations are going to say, fuck this bitch. Excuse my French. That's exactly what's going to happen. You started this war, you're going to have to deal with the consequences. Now, I'm going to play another video. This is going to be my last video. It's right here.
Of Hormuz.
Indefinitely.
How much longer can Iran sustain the closure of the Strait of Hormuz?
Indefinitely.
Because it harms your economy too, doesn't it?
For us, it is a fight for survival. For you, it is a fight to sustain the Epstein class and ethno-supremacism in Palestine.
Why do you
It's
keep
for
bringing
you,
up
it's a war of
why do you
choice.
bring up Jeffrey Epstein in this context? What's the logical leap there?
It's very clear. It's very clear what class of people are in charge in your countries. That class of people are the people who have control. They're the ones who own the media. They're the ones who control the government. They're the ones who start unprovoked wars time after time. This is not the first war that you've imposed upon this region, or Iran for that matter. And we just saw yesterday a key American anti-terrorist official resigned, saying the truth that we all knew, but you tried to hide. And that is Iran was no threat to the United States, and that this war was carried out because of the Israeli regime and its powerful lobby. So what I'm saying is basically what he is saying. That powerful lobby is the Epstein.
How much longer can Iran
Right.
sustain the closure?
We heard he said that powerful lobby is the Epstein class. These people over here in power who are not being held accountable for the for the crimes that they have committed. They're not being held accountable for the illegal wars or the killings of these people of these Epstein files. These people in these Epstein files, these murders and the drinking of blood and all this shit. They're and the killing of children, the eating of people. They're not being held accountable for that over here. So that's why he calling them the Epstein class. They're above the law in this country. They do whatever the hell they want to do. Okay? But see, they picked a fight with people who, when you pick the fight with the wrong person, because as many times as they done struck and killed and terrorized Iran, they're just now getting to the point where they're like, you know what? The gloves are coming off. We're not gonna stop. We're gonna close this down indefinitely. We hate you bastards, and we're not gonna stop. This country, Iran. They're the ancient Persians. They have like a 2,700 year history. Okay, these people have been in power for a very. This country has been established for a very long time. These people have been established for a very long time. America has a 250-year history, which goes to show you the arrogance of Esau Edom. Okay, now this is Second Ezra's. Continuing on in this. This is Second Ezra's. I'm gonna start at verse 27. It says, "For now are there plagues come upon the whole earth." Now again, a plague can be a famine, plague of famine. It can be a plague of war. It can be a plague of pestilence. A plague can be a lot of things, and these plagues are everywhere right now. Okay, all over the earth. It has for there are plagues that come upon the whole earth, and ye shall remain in them. For Yahweh shall not deliver you because you have sinned against him. And this goes for y'all knuckleheaded ass Jakes out here, y'all 2/3 motherfuckers out there who think that y'all can just do whatever and continue to do it, and you're not, and the Lord ain't gonna hold you accountable. All this stuff really is done to punish Israel, to punish the wicked, but at the same time, punishing the heathen too. Okay, it says verse 28 says, "Behold, in horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east." You know, and it says where the nations of the dragons of Arabia should come out with the charters, and the multitudes of them should be carried as the wind upon the earth, and that all they which hear them shall fear and tremble. Okay, so all of the nations of the Middle East, over there in that area in the Levant region, they got their middle finger up, saying like, "What's up?" They're all starting to unite together. Okay, and it says also the Carmenians. Now let's look. Let's see who are the Carmenians. Let's see who they are. Okay, because we know who they are. Let's see. This stupid ass computer, man. Oh, yeah, it says it right here. It says the Carmenians, ancient Greek, are warlike ancient Iranian people inhabiting Carmenia, a region corresponding with modern-day Kerman, southeastern Iran, bordering the North Persian Gulf, right over there where the Strait of Hormuz is. See what I'm saying? You see how the Bible tells you what is going to happen before it happens. And the average everyday person still ain't afraid about what's about to go down. They still not concerned. They still think that this is a joke. When all of these things are unfolding, the Bible prophecy is unfolding like crazy, like never before, right before your eyes. That's why for us, this is a wonderful time to be alive, because we are seeing those things that the prophets wrote about, and we understand those things that the prophets wrote about, you know, 2,000 plus years ago. We understand them and we're seeing them unfold right before our eyes. So we understand the fear. We understand the importance. That's why we're bringing this stuff out. Okay? And we're telling you, hey, this is not going to stop. The only thing that we're waiting on is the C-HIP to come out, the MOTB, which will be here soon. It's going to slow. It may slow down a little bit, but it's not going to stop. Okay? It's going to go slow to go fast. All right? So let's go back to the second Ezra. It says also that now that we know who they are, this scripture is going to be self-explanatory. It says also the Carmenians raging in wrath shall go forth as as wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join join in battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. You see that? So, hey man, this is it. This what we're seeing right now. This is the beginning of the end of Esau's kingdom. Okay? And as we move forward into this, you're going to see this thing progress even further. And you know who won't get hit the most? You dumbass Americans. And going back to that Obadiah, where it says there's no understanding in him, these people don't even know what the hell they're doing. They're just making moves, second guessing themselves. They'll say one thing. I got videos where they got them on record saying one thing and then saying another 2 days later. These people are so jumbled and so scrambled and so stupid that they don't even realize that they're contradicting themselves almost as fast as they're saying what they're saying. Okay? So we're here, man. Okay? So with that, I pray this edifying lesson. Let me end it by giving all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem, Rachel Kodesh. Until the next time I say Shalom.